Good evening,
Hey,
everyone.
did I step on you, Amelia?
That's okay. Good evening, everyone. This is Amelia Pitbull Chapman. Welcome to another episode of Wrestling with the Future podcast. I'm joined today by Angelo Mad Dog DeCipio, Michael Murphy, and Mike Messier. We have a special show with you tonight. As you saw in the beginning, we did a 10 bell salute to Ole Anderson, who we lost yesterday, and Virgil, as we knew in the wrestling business. Excuse my background. Sorry about that. Is Michael Jones, who's known in real life, and the main man that we're doing a show with tonight is Jeff the Ref, as we all knew him, but his name is Jeff Robinson.
Mhm.
And I actually am going to turn over the show tonight to Angelo because this is a tribute
I
show.
will take over from here, Amelia. Thank you so much.
Mhm,
You forgot one major player here.
mhm.
You introduced Mike the Movie Maker Messier.
I did.
You introduced
And
me, but you forgot the guy I've known the longest here.
I said Michael Murphy.
25 years, Michael Armageddon Murphy. You
No,
didn't say
I
the
mentioned him.
Armageddon part.
Oh,
No, it's a wrestling show. You got to go by his gimmick name.
oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Michael
I-
Armageddon Murphy. There
Like,
you go.
Mike Messier. He's Mike the Movie Maker Messier from Parts Unknown.
Well, we're not gonna tell
How
anybody
you
where
guys
he's
doing?
from.
Let me catch up with everybody. Murph, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, Angelo. It's good to be back.
It's good to have you back. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you're hearing a bit of a delay, we do have about a 5-second delay with Mike Murphy, also known as Armageddon. He's for whatever reason we have a delay. I don't know what it is. Sometimes it's just the weather. Sometimes it's just the area. It's crazy.
Mhm.
We also joined by the very first guest that Jeff the Ref and I ever had on Wrestling with the Future.
Oh.
Mike Messier is an actor, director, screenwriter, producer, director, sometimes bagel shop employee, sometimes mobile
Author.
podcaster,
Author.
author as
Author,
well.
yes.
Yeah. By the way, if you haven't gotten a chance to read any of Mike's works, Fight or Play Basketball is something really that you want to get a hold of.
Mhm.
It's on Amazon, or you can go to MikeMessier.com. Fight or Play Basketball is a really interesting book. It's not a wrestling book.
Mm-mm.
In fact, in a lot of ways, it's not even a sports book.
No.
But I like it. It's one of my favorite Messier books.
Thanks, Angelo.
Quite welcome, my friend. What have you been up to? I haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah, I just got back from Texas, Austin, Texas. I had a short film in the Austin Revolution Film Festival, so I drove out there from Florida to Texas and drove back. And it's funny you mentioned Fight or Play Basketball, Angelo, because one of the advantages of self-publishing is I've been even today I'm still tweaking that book, even though it's already published. I'm going to do basically a second edition and just tighten it up a little bit.
Beautiful.
But I've been working on artwork a lot, and since the last time I talked to you, acrylics.
Seeing that you're doing some kind of abstracts, a lot of like Picasso stuff.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I've been having fun with that, and it's become kind of my new thing, just because the upside with art, with visual art, Angelo, is the lack of it's self-contained. Basically, I can do these paintings without hiring other people or somebody else hiring me or a publicist, or you know what I mean. It's basically I can go to the coffee house or wherever I want, and I can have my acrylic markers and my canvas boards, and within an hour or two I can have something done. But I want to thank you and Amelia for inviting me on this tribute show with you guys and Murph. Jeff the Ref, it's very good memories for me. When I was on your show as the first guest, I pulled over to a hotel in South Carolina, and as you said when we were off the air, just the amount of technological advancements in the last 5 years is incredible.
Yeah.
But Jeff and I at the time, it's just funny because we were arguing about wrestling then, mostly about the greatness
brother.
of WWE.
passionate. Oh my God, was he passionate about wrestling? You're
Well,
actually you're
yeah.
going to see that clip tonight, Mikey. So don't tip the hat too much.
Well, it's just funny because I was listening to some of the first episodes of you and Jeff the Ref, and one story that either was new to me or that I forgot was a 12-year-old Jeff the Ref wrote copy for the Von Erichs, like Chris and Mike and Kevin and Carrie and
Yeah,
Fritz,
yeah.
and I mean that story was just so wonderful. And to me, Angelo, I was just kind of envisioning if Jeff was with us, what he would tell us, his opinions and feelings on the Von Erich movie, The Iron Claw. Would he like it? Would he be offended that Chris was
Right.
not in the movie? What would Jeff's insights be? So that was a good memory that I kind of rebrushed myself up with leading up to this tribute podcast.
Interesting. You're going to see a picture of Jeff and the Von Erichs together. In fact, they made quite the big deal about him. They put him in the center of the photo, and he was seated, and they were all standing around him, like kind of paying homage to the king, right?
Yeah.
Um, I should tell everybody, in the interest of full disclosure, Jeff the Ref Robinson was my co-host when we began this venture called Wrestling with the Future. Before that, I had a show called Psychic in the City for a couple of years. And I was a guest on the show of Mr. Kenny Bolin. And those of you in the wrestling business, if you follow wrestling or are in the business, you know who Kenny Bolin is. I was a guest on Kenny Bolin's show, and Jeff the Ref Robinson happened to be watching that episode, unbeknownst to me. I got an email from him asking for my contact information, which of course I gave. And we spent the next 3 hours talking wrestling and everything under the sun, from politics to religion to wrestling. And I say, you know what, you're an interesting kind of cat. Maybe we should do something. And in that, remember his voice, he had that raspy voice. You're going to hear it tonight. He went, "That would be great. I would really like that." He had this raspy voice. You're going to hear him tonight. But a shout out tonight to Amy Robinson, Jeff's sister, and Brenda Robinson, Jeff's mom. They have been amazing people in this, to me. Then they have, and I don't really know either of them from Adam. I remember waiting a few days after Jeff passed to contact his mother because, after all, she just lost her son, and I didn't know what to say, and I was, a bit nervous about it. Having lost a sister, I understand now what my parents went through. You don't expect to lose a child, especially. See, we're supposed to bury the parents. They're not supposed to bury us, right? And so when my sister passed away, I saw what my parents went through. And so I can just imagine, and I really can imagine, what Brenda Robinson went through, and her, her husband, her ex-husband, Jeff's father, Edgar Robinson. I don't know if he's still with us. If he is, my condolences, sir. And if he's not, then my condolences, Brenda. The interesting thing about Jeff, and if you ever watch the show on a weekly basis, I used to call Jeff Robinson the Encyclopedia Britannica of pro wrestling, the guru who knew, because I'm a guy that I will celebrate my 65th birthday this year, God willing, and and nothing else happens. And Jeff knew more in his 42 years about wrestling than I thought I ever knew. And I worked in the business and thought I knew. Okay? That's a shoot. This guy was passionate, as Mikey Messier will attest to. You're going to see a bit of that. And you're going to see a little bit of Jeff's the stuff that made him tick. Mostly it's going to be memory lane from Messier and myself because Amelia, you never knew Jeff, and Mikey, you just Mike Murphy, you only knew Jeff, very peripherally. So what I would like to do, with your kind permission, is I want to show you a slideshow. And just keep in mind everything that you see in this slideshow because we're going to talk about it. This was one of Jeff's best friends, Ivan Koloff, former WWE World Heavyweight Champion. At the time, WWF World Champion. He knew Ivan very well. There's Jeff with J.J. Dillon and George Pantis. George is a veritable, a walking treasure trove of wrestling history. He owns all of the original Georgia Championship Wrestling tapes, as a matter of fact. Let's go back to this one. Yeah, there's Arn Anderson, J.J. Dillon, Jeff, and I don't know who the other gentleman is. I'm assuming a friend of Jeff. Which you're looking at Arn Anderson. We just lost yesterday, Ole Anderson, and condolences to the Anderson family. We also lost today Michael Virgil Jones. You remember as Virgil in WWE, and of course, his time in WCW as Vincent, quote unquote Vincent. There's Jeff. Oh, let's go back. This is an interesting picture. This is Jeff with Roddy Piper and Jeff's co-worker at Vanguard Championship Wrestling. Now, you're going to see a woman tonight named Grimlina. Grimlina was the commissioner of Vanguard Championship Wrestling. That the night that you're looking at here, Grimlina and Jeff the Ref were part of Piper's Pit. I can't, because of time constraints, I can't play the whole story, but and when we get to it, I'll tell you what happened. This is a 15-year-old Jeff the Ref Robinson with Nature Boy Ric Flair. Jeff, he apparently what happened, as he told it to me on the show, and I still have the clip. He said that they drove down to the hotel to find Ric Flair. He hadn't got there yet, so they drove to the airport. And they found him at the airport. They picked him up and gave him a ride to the building where he was going to be performing. The gentleman who drove is the young man you see there with the little beard and the little goatee. Because obviously, if you look at Jeff, he doesn't. First of all, I don't think he has any hair at all on his face at all. Maybe a whisker starting to come out. It's just a baby face. And that's of course Jeff and Cesaro. This is Jeff doing what he did. He was a ref. Jeff the Ref doing what he was doing, reffing. Of course, Jeff there with Scott Steiner and the security crew at Vanguard Championship Wrestling. And this is that infamous Von Erich picture with Kevin Von Erich and Kerry Von Erich surrounding Jeff. Of course, sitting in Fritz Von Erich's chair in Fritz's office, as I understand it. And that was because what happened is, and I'll give you a little heads up about Brenda Robinson. Jeff's mom, Brenda Robinson, used to work for the 700 Club, Pat Robertson. Because Pat Robertson had ties to Texas and Trinity Broadcasting, this was actually a promo spot for Trinity Broadcasting. And Jeff literally at this age wrote the commercial that they played on the air. that's what you're looking at here. This was after commercial was finished filming, and he wrote it. I think he might have been maybe a Messier, maybe
12.
12, 13, maybe.
He said when he was telling you the story that he was 12 years old.
Yeah, he was like, just a little kid. And of course, this is the last one here. The last one here. This was in fact the last picture of Jeff with a wrestling personality was Kevin Nash.
Yep.
And then of course and then we lost him. Mike Messier, you have an interesting story about the night that Jeff passed, because it's clear, and Mikey, you and I knew that Jeff was an avid WWE loyalist, that he would fight you tooth and nail. And if he knew that you were at a WWE house show, NXT in Florida, I don't know. So tell me your memories of that night, Mike.
Well, let me go back to those photos real quick. I think the same friend in the picture with Flair comes up later on with Arn and JJ, just as a point of reference. So that must have been one of Jeff's very good running buddies, because it looks like the same guy with a different haircut.
Well, let's see here. It
I
might
think
be.
so.
Let's see.
Because the guy with Flair picture, I'm thinking was 99. So if you look at this guy on the left with the he's got the long hair.
It kind of looks like the same guy, doesn't he?
And then if you get to Arn and JJ, that's probably in the 2000s at some point. The Arn and JJ photo.
Same
I
guy.
think that's the same guy, but what happened, Angelo, as you recall? Yeah, what I remember is that Jeff and I were in the middle, and this was 2019, and I think it's fair to say that WWE was in a creative slump at that point. And
easily.
And they had been on maybe the second year of their multi-year deal with Saudi Arabia that I wasn't a fan of, and blah blah blah. So I was very down on the WWE, and at the same time we had this new group AEW on the uprise. And, Jeff was pretty open to watching any and all wrestling. He didn't really discriminate. But at the time, I was very anti-WWE. And I just remember a friend of mine came in from out of town. My friend Morrow came from Boston to Florida. And lo and behold, WWE was doing an NXT house show, 20 minutes from where I lived. So entertaining my friend, I said, well, my own anger be damned, I'm going to go with my buddy to this NXT house show. And I was thinking of Jeff the whole time, because this was the night that Jeff passed away, before I knew that he had passed away. So I went there thinking about Jeff, like, man, Jeff's going to throw it at me that I broke my strike or I broke the ticket line and I went to see WWE. So me and my friend go. It wasn't a tremendous. It was an okay. It was like typical of what you'd see of an NXT house show. Matt Riddle it was the tag champ with Pete Dunne, and Ty Conti was there before she was with AEW, before she had a baby with Sammy Guevara. So I mean, this is how fast things change. Basically, get home. Me and my friend watched that AEW pay-per-view the same night. That's when Jon Moxley beat Chris Jericho for the AEW title. And we had a big wrestling day. We see live wrestling. We see pay-per-view wrestling. It's all very exciting. And the very next day, I think around 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern time, I get the phone call from Angelo. And, we've all been there. Everyone watching this show has gotten a phone call that you didn't want to get. And the expression out of nowhere comes to mind, because there was no indication that Jeff had any type of illness or anything, at least as far as I knew. So it was shocking. It was sad. And the story that Jeff was planning to enjoy watching the AEW wrestling show with some friends at home, I could relate to that. I've had many a time when the guys have come over, or I've gone to somebody's house to watch wrestling, especially a pay-per-view. So it was very shocking and sad. But I always think that Jeff he got one over on me at the end, Angelo, because I went to the
I'll tell you what happened, Mikey. I spoke to Jeff that Saturday, no less than 5 times. And it's interesting what the subject of conversation was, and it had nothing to do with wrestling. He had a friend in the car with him, and they were driving around, doing whatever business they were doing, which I still don't know. But the friend that was driving him around was interested in what I did for a living, which, of course, everybody knows I was a practicing psychic, and still am. Because you can't change what you're born with. It's just there. And he called me I like easily 5 times that day. I spoke. I'm my hand to God. I'm not even kidding you. And he was asking about what happens on the other side, and I explained as best as as in terms he would understand, as best I could. What happens and what transpires. Given the limited knowledge, because I'm not dead yet, thank you God, I'm still here. But we only know based on what people tell us who have come back. So unless you experience it yourself, you just don't know. So anyway, he had, after the 5th call, he had, I guess, satisfactory answers, and then they were driving somewhere to get something to eat, pick up some food to watch AEW Revolution, which was that night. That night, it's like the show starts at 8:00. I'm like 20 after 8, 25 after 8. I get a phone call. Actually, the person that called me is in our chat room tonight, and he's right here. Trevron Sanford. Trey is the guy. He's the one who called me.
Oh, wow.
And said, we lost the ref tonight. I said, what do you mean you lost the ref? Where'd he go? He said, no, we lost him. I said, I wasn't getting it. I wasn't getting it. So, and then he said, Jeff died.
Oh, no.
That hit me. All I saw was the room spinning. Okay. It was the most surreal thing I'd ever heard, given the fact that I spoke to him 5 times that day. And I spoke to him less than an hour before this phone call. He said, he goes, Ange, I'm going to go. I'm going to watch the show now. Right? But when you see the tape, you'll hear his voice. You'll understand. And I do that, in the most sincere way.
Right.
I'm just trying to, to mimic his voice, and you can't, because he had a very unique voice. And I told my wife, and Anita was just beside herself. And my sister-in-law was here, and she was beside herself because they both knew Jeff. After the shows, they used to get on Skype and talk to him sometimes. We used to all bullshit, right?
Right.
And I said, went into the bedroom, and I said, Jeff died. And Anita said, what? I said, Jeff died. He passed away. He had a heart attack and died. Now, what people did not know that I will share with you now, Jeff Robinson had some health issues. He had out of control diabetes. He was substantially overweight. And part of the issue was that he had some festering wounds that he was in the hospital for that were not healing up. They kept breaking open and reinfecting themselves. During the time that I knew Jeff, he was in the hospital 4 times. I want you to think about what I just said. Okay. I knew Jeff less than a year, about 9 months, right at 9 months. And he was in the hospital 4 times in 9 months. with infection after infection that they just could not get to go away. They would, baby dress it. They would, pamper it for a while, but it
Mhm.
never went away. So he had a couple of things going on, and that's only what he told me. And by the way, it was like pulling teeth to get that, because Jeff was a really, really private guy, and he didn't, how are we going to say this? He didn't, open up a lot about his private life.
Right.
Um, but he loved
Stoic.
talking about his sister, and he loved talking about his mother.
Mm.
And wrestling, of course, that was a given.
Mhm.
So that's what happened that night. That night rocked me and Mike Messier. It really rocked us to our core because, and Mike Messier is a dear friend of mine, even though it's been some time since we spoke. We're those kind of people. I think, Mikey, you would agree that we could pick up right where we left off at.
Mhm.
Because that's just how we're built,
Yeah.
because Mikey, he's all over the place and I'm all over the place, and it's like we go, okay, here's Mikey, here's Mad Dog. Okay, how you doing, Mike? Okay, I gotta go.
Just
So
to jump in for a second, Angelo.
yes, please do. Sure, please do.
I guess unfortunately, but in some ways, to Jeff's credit, I think Jeff's untimely death brought me and Angelo closer, and also a community of people that came together to kind of rally around keeping the referees circle going, Jeff the refs
Yeah.
circle podcast going, and
Oh yeah.
and I got to meet via this Wrestling with the Future and the associated shows a lot of Jeff's friends and what he meant to the Virginia Commonwealth Wrestling
Mhm.
scene, and hearing his stories with Ivan Koloff and the other wrestlers. And I really feel bad that I missed on Jeff's memorial service, because I think either his mom or his sister said that in honor of Jeff, they were encouraging the guests to come with their favorite wrestling T-shirt, and I wish I was able to make that. So Jeff was really a classy guy. He was a guy I was just listening to you and Jeff from one of your first episodes tonight, Angelo, and Jeff was talking about how the Nyla Rose transgender wrestler was really getting a break in AEW, and it's just kind of interesting. Sometimes we prejudge people, but not Jeff, because Jeff was really happy that this person was having success in wrestling, and I think that Jeff was just a very warm-hearted guy.
Yeah.
And he had a passion for pro wrestling. He had a passion for his friends and his family.
Oh,
And
for sure.
they do say that, or Billy Joel does, at least, only the good die young. So Jeff packed a lot of life into his short time on Earth.
Oh
with us.
boy, did he!
Yeah.
On that note, and that's a great segue, Mikey.
Mhm.
That's a great segue. I want to do something I've never done. This show that we're doing tonight forced me to do something I haven't done since Chef passed. It forced me to watch clips of he and I together. And I cringed at some of them, and I laughed at some, and I cried at others. I've never done this, but I'm going to read Jeff's obituary because I've never done that publicly. In fact, I've never done it at all. But I want to do that tonight, and just to confirm what Mike Messier said, how important wrestling was to this guy. Jeffrey Charles Robinson, 42, went to be with the Lord on February 29th, 2020. Tomorrow is 4 years to the day. We know he's enjoying the wrestling ring in the sky. He was born April 19th, 1977, at the Paul Hospital in Norfolk, Virginia, to Edgar and Brenda Robinson. Jeffrey is most known for his passion for professional wrestling. As a child, Jeff's late grandpa, Donald Major, introduced him to pro wrestling. His love for wrestling never stopped, and he was a walking encyclopedia about everything wrestling. And he ain't even kidding. Trust me when I tell you. not even bullshit in any way, shape, or form. This guy, he consumed wrestling. He devoured it. You think I'm bad? I got nothing with him. He met numerous pro wrestlers over the years throughout his life, but was most proud of meeting Ric Flair and was very grateful of his friendship with the late Ivan Koloff. When Jeff turned 18, he became an official wrestling referee for various in the wrestling circuit promotions where he has earned the nickname Jeff the Ref. Later, that love of wrestling brought him to become the head of security for Vanguard Championship Wrestling, where he enjoyed working with everyone there. Most recently, Jeff was co-host of a podcast called Wrestling with the Future. He was so very proud of how much this little podcast that could was growing. He used to always say that. He used to say, and it's the little podcast that's good. And I went, and it is, brother. It is. Jeffrey also enjoyed his time as a waiter. Listen to this one. He enjoyed his time as a waiter at the Cheesecake Factory, where he had the opportunity to wait on Tom Hanks, Shirley MacLaine, and Bruce Smith of the Washington Redskins, just to name a few. Bruce Smith liked Jeff's service so much that while Jeff was working there, he would only eat there when Jeff was working, and even wrote a letter to corporate complimenting his service. Think of it. He wrote a letter to the corporate offices praising his service as a waiter. Jeff's incredible customer service skills served him very well, both at the Cheesecake Factory, then at Geico Insurance, where he was a sales agent. And that is Jeff the Ref obituary. Now, I want to first of all extend thanks to Mike Kelleher and to Mark Hall, two of Jeff's closest friends growing up as a kid. I want everyone to take a look at this. We were able to secure a video from Jerry the King Lawler, WWE Hall of Famer, courtesy of Mike Kelleher. And I would like everybody to take a look, please.
WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler, and I just want to say about our friend Jeff the Ref. We're all going to miss him, and he's a great guy. And what can you say other than we think about him and always remember Jeff the Ref.
This is a show that I didn't want to do and almost didn't do, but we have to. And there's lots of reasons we have to. If you have not found out by now, and I'm sure many of you already know, my co-host, Jeff Robinson, affectionately known as Jeff the Ref, the guru who knew, a man I call the Encyclopedia Britannica of pro wrestling. He passed away Saturday night, and suddenly, quickly, as his mother tells me, he wanted to go. Not that we were ready to lose him, certainly not at 42 years of age. This is going to be a very different kind of show tonight. I have three people here who knew Jeff probably better than anybody. And let me introduce them now. First, his childhood friend of some 40 years, I believe, 39 years, 40 years, Mike Kelleher. You've known him for almost 40 years.
Almost 40 years, yeah. Probably 37, 38, something like that.
And if it's possible, Mike, there's actually somebody here that knew Jeff a little longer. His name is Max Hall. Max, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I know it's not the best of circumstances, but we're going to make the best of it tonight.
We will certainly make the best of it. That's why I kind of put out a little header today. Bring the Kleenex, bring the wet wipes, and bring a change of undergarments if necessary. Because the Jeff the Ref had stories and was the subject of stories. I've heard a few of them already. The only thing that completely kept me from falling apart was that he had one wicked sense of humor. There's one more guest joining us tonight. It's a woman who, the only woman in the crew tonight, who worked with Jeff, often, in fact, at Vanguard Championship Wrestling. You may remember her as Grimlina from the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. Grimmy, how are you?
Hanging in there.
I hear you. All right, let's do this. Hi, folks. Psychic Medium Angelo here. Welcome to the Psychic Realm Podcast Network. You know, we have a show called Psychic in the City. Well, you're not watching that show. This is our new one. This is Wrestling with the Future. And you'll understand why in a moment we call it Wrestling with the Future.
Yeah.
This is the show where we talk about all things entertainment, sports, you name it, we're going to talk about it. And the man, the guru, who knows all things sport, Jeff the Ref Robinson. How's that for an intro, Jeff?
I couldn't think any better there. Thank you so much, Angela. I really appreciate that intro.
I told you he had a raspy voice. This is the very first episode ever of Wrestling with the Future. It was he and I. Jeff was in his room looking like yesterday's news, sitting on his bed. He had just got his hair cut all completely off. Nothing left of his hair. And I was at my kitchen table thinking to myself, what the fuck am I doing? What am I doing here? So take a look at this. I'm going to, and Mike Messier, you'll appreciate what's coming up. So again, don't tip the hat, Mikey. Watch.
Where would you like me to begin? I mean, like, what, you know?
You know, I called you the mountainous, fountainous, voluminous fountain of information. When it comes to all things MMA, wrestling, football, baseball, basketball, you are the sports guru.
I would like, yeah. I mean, I definitely followed my fair share and know a little bit of knowledge there. Yeah, I wouldn't say. I mean, wrestling is right where I'm the deepest.
And hence the name Jeff the Ref Robinson.
Yeah. I started out as a pro wrestling referee on the independents. I've done a little bit of everything. Never, can't say I ever really got in the ring and wrestled, but I mean, I definitely have been in there with any and everybody. My career in wrestling goes back 20 plus years. When
was your first promotion? What was it and where was it?
It was a local promotion it was an independent down in North Carolina. I couldn't even tell you their name. We were in a National Guard armory, had about 200 people there, and nervous as hell. They tell you, okay, go out there, kid, and you got this match, and they're gonna, and here's the finish. Okay,
that was that.
There you go. There you go.
I'm Psychic Medium Angelo, joined as always by the guru who knew, the encyclopedia Britannica of pro wrestling, Jeff the Ref Robinson. Hey, Jeff, how you doing, brother?
I am doing great. How are you doing, Angelo?
I am amazing. Jeff, we have a really amazing A-lister tonight, a guest that first of all, among all of his credentials, his greatest credential is he's my friend. Rico Costantino to Wrestling with Future.
Hey, thank you for having me, Angelo. And nice to meet you, Ref.
Oh, the only thing missing are your sideburns, Rico.
Yeah, I can't wear them on my new job. I'd love to. I grew them out, but they're not dark anymore. There's no pepper to them. They're all salt. All salt, gray. No gray.
You guys remember Rico Costantino? He had these super mutton chop sideburns that went all the way down his face. Like he looked like Wolverine from the X-Men. It was crazy. Check this out.
Here, but gray here. Everything's here.
You had a set of sideburns that would have made Luke Perry and Jason Priestley back in the 90s jealous, man.
He had a set of sideburns that would have made Elvis envious.
Yes, sir.
Part 2. of our conversation, television wrestling,
Mikey Messier. Look at this one, kiddo.
and AEW Full Gear Fallout. I'm joined once again by my esteemed and affable co-host, lovable, luggable Jeff the Ref Robinson, and the most knowledgeable man next to Jeff that I know, Mike Movie Maker Messier. Hey, Mikey, how you doing?
I'm good. Glad to be here again with Jeff the Ref and Angelo, and I've put on my thinking glasses because I feel like we're going to have a thinking episode this time.
Oh, man, I'm just glad to be here. It's been a crazy day for me. Whew, man, let me tell you.
There you go, Mikey. How you feeling? Our glasses on.
I feel left out. I don't have any.
I'm going to search pair. Jeff, how you doing, pal? You had a busy day.
Yeah, I've been...
I did too, by the way. I sent him a pair of fucking glasses.
I've been busy, making contacts, making phone calls, taking care of a few things here and there, and handling ref business, if you will.
Beautiful. Well, let me tell everybody that as of this morning, I've got confirmation definite for 2 weeks from today. We will have former WWE superstar, former American gladiator, former Las Vegas policeman, Rico Costantino.
That's a big one. That's a good one.
Yeah, big guest. Welcome back, everybody. Psychic Medium Angelo here, and you are with Wrestling with the Future. I am joined, as always, by the fountain of information, the guru of pro wrestling, Jeff the Ref Robinson. How are you, Jeff?
Doing great. How are you doing?
This fountain?
Uh-oh, I hear a voice in the wilderness. And that voice, ladies and gentlemen, that you see and hear, that is Sandy Manley. And you're like, well, who the hell is Sandy Manley? Well, you know her better by her ring name. She is Grimlina, one of the Glow Girls. Held this piece of information from me, you little bastard, that you were the commissioner, acting commissioner, from 2010 to 2012 for our beloved Vanguard Championship Wrestling in Norfolk, Virginia. Let me ask you, Jeff.
Yeah.
She's already putting herself over like a good wrestler.
Of course.
So what kind of commissioner was this woman?
Oh, well,
Controversial.
yeah, well, you know what? I'll say this. I was on the payroll, so I'm a little bit biased towards her on that one. But no, honestly, she did a very good job. And controversial, yeah, she made some controversial decisions and everything else. And I mean, it led to. I mean, it was a fun time that we were having right there in VCW. We were really clicking on all cylinders at that point in time.
Right.
And we were running 2 to 3 shows a month. And, I mean, I think, which we'll go to later on, but it led to one of Grimmy's, I mean, she's even said a career highlight for her, probably a career moment. She got to do a live Piper's Pit with Roddy Piper, and where, he called her out there to the ring, and she was there right there dead center and went word for word, verbally with him, not sparring with him, but as far as being in the ring.
Always by the guru who knew, the encyclopedia.
Now, I have to tell you about this clip. You see Jeff, you see myself.
Mm-hmm.
In the corner, all you see is a blonde head. That blonde head belongs to Nicola Roberts' baby doll. Okay? Mm-hmm. I don't know what happened between prior to going on the air and going on the air, because her face was front and center. It was beautiful. Suddenly, Nicola, who was where Jeff is, ended up at the bottom where Jeff was supposed to be underneath me. And all we got, Mike Messier, was baby doll's head. So check this out, and then we'll talk about some stuff when we come back.
Britannica of pro wrestling, Jeff the Ref Robinson. Jeff, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing tonight, Angelo?
I'm wonderful, Jeff. There's a very pretty lady joining us tonight. Have you noticed that?
Oh, well, I would love to introduce her. She is the one, the only, the perfect 10. The very lovely Miss Nicola Roberts herself, the one and only baby doll. How are you doing tonight?
Very well, thank you.
All right. It is a pleasure to have you coming on here tonight. And as I was saying before we took to the air, huge fan of yours from back in the Crockett days. You were probably part of my very early fandom. I started watching it in 1985. And to say that I know your career would probably, I mean, I watched you on the Old World Class when you were on Andre the Lady Giant coming in with Gino Hernandez.
Oh, yeah.
I cried the day that you turned on Dusty. I thought that my world had been ended, and my little 9-year-old heart was about to just erupt into 1,000 pieces because my baby doll had just turned on all of us, and I couldn't believe it. And I mean, we're going to touch on a lot of these stories tonight, but I mean, that's just, let me put you over really quick if I can. You know what I mean? So,
like you need to put her over.
I mean, thank you so much for the memories. You know what I mean? And I will say this: it says a lot about her that fans still remember this lady 40 years later.
Well, let's be honest about it. Nicola Roberts was a trailblazer and a trendsetter, and created a model for females in the business that we still see today. You know, when you're talking about, see, I always referred to Nicola as the original glamazon. You know, the big, beautiful woman.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Nicola, you know, Jeff mentioned, you know, Andrea the Giant. And there's always been some speculation whether that was a tribute to Andre or a rib on him. So fill me in. What was the deal?
I never thought it was a rib. I thought it was kind of disrespectful in a way because, I mean, there was no one else but Andre. And then to kind of take a gimmick girl situation was just, I didn't like it. And if you notice, I very seldom called myself Andrea.
Hey, we're going to get to that in a second. So let's talk about, first of all, thank you very much to Mike Murphy, because were it not for Mike Murphy, we would not have had Baby Doll. Mike was the one that hooked me up with Baby Doll on Facebook, of all places, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, that was that's how I got a hold of her on Facebook.
Your favorite social media site.
And you know how I fucking hate Facebook. I know. And by the way, we're not being disrespectful. The F word was one of Jeff's favorite words. Love that word. And used it fluently in a lot of different vernacular. So, but Mike Murphy, thank you for that. Mike, talk to me a little bit about what you've seen so far. The evolution of our podcast from the very first episode to what it is today.
You gotta be, which Mike you talking to?
Mike Murphy.
Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, now what I was asking you a question, Mike. I said a comment so far. Give me some commentary on what you've seen so far as Wrestling with the Future from the very first episode to where it is now.
Wrestling with the Future has grown in leaps and bounds. I myself had only met Jeff on the show once, maybe twice. I didn't really, know him. He seemed like a great guy. Yeah, very great guy, very knowledgeable. He actually said he knew my career, which I was like, wow. Okay. But yeah, I mean, he just seemed
Very
like a very, very nice guy, very lovable guy.
Yep. He really was. He was the kind of guy that and Mike Messier will attest to this fact. Jeff was the kind of guy who knew about all the indies, what every indie was doing, and could and knew what they were doing in Pennsylvania, and knew what they were doing in Texas and California, and in the South and in the upper Northwest. He knew, because when I say to you, and please understand what I mean by this, he didn't just watch wrestling. He didn't just read the 5,000, I mean, literally 5,000 plus wrestling magazines that he had. But Jeff consumed wrestling. He ate it. He lived it. Mm-hmm. He shit wrestling. He showered wrestling. He literally consumed it. He devoured it. It was his life. He said to me one time, and I'll never forget this. I said, Jeff, and we were off air. We had just come off the air. I said, Jeff, can I ask you a question, my friend? He said, sure. I said, why wrestling? What is it about wrestling? And I'll never forget what he said. He said, wrestling is my mistress. It's my friend. I had a very lonely childhood. And I you know, at that point I lost it. And he continued, and he said, I had a very lonely childhood. I didn't have a lot of friends. And wrestling was my lover, my friend, my confidant. It was what he went to. It was his go-to. We would say that in today's terms. It was his go-to.
Right.
That's what wrestling was to Jeff. And it's just, you know, when you think about, and Mike Messier, you and I have had this conversation a couple of times during your tenure on the show, from you know, throughout the time that you've been with the show, is that wrestling has an effect on everybody who becomes a part of it. And the key word there is, it becomes a part of you. You don't become a part of it. We don't become a part of wrestling. Wrestling becomes a part of us.
Right.
And that's what happened with Jeff. It was his alter ego. You know, Jeff the Ref was his alter ego, just like Mad Dog DeCipio is mine, just like, you know, Mike Movie Maker Messier is Mikey's, like Armageddon is to Mike Murphy, and the Pitbull is to Amelia. It's what we live vicariously. Everybody on this show has a wrestling name. Did you think about that? We all have a wrestling name here.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, very poignant words, Angelo, and even you could tell when Jeff was introducing Nicola Roberts' baby doll, the esteem that he had for her, and when he's talking about when he's 9 years old and he's watching her on television turn on Dusty Rhodes, and he feels, you heard what he said, my baby doll turned on all his Dusty fans.
Yeah.
Like, you take it personal, and the background photo I put up here tonight is a picture of Nikita Koloff, not Ivan Koloff, but that's a photograph of Nikita Koloff and Mike Rotundo from the Baltimore Civic Center that I took as a small child, because Jeff was a big Jim Crockett Promotions fan, which was JCP, or the NWA Mid-Atlantic Territory. And, you know, that particular group of wrestlers at that time in the 80s was, and I'm sure before then too, in the 70s, they really did. Nikita Koloff, Dusty Rhodes, the Road Warriors, Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen, the Midnight Express, they all, for some reason, and it's hard to put a finger on it, but they just seemed more attainable or more interactive with the fans. And
you know what it was, Mikey?
What's that?
And we've actually talked about this not all that long ago.
Yeah.
Actually, they were approachable.
Yes.
Right.
They were human. They were approachable. You can't approach these people today because you'll either get thrown out or beat up by security or arrested.
Yeah.
For doing something, as innocent as, can I have an autograph? Yeah, sure. For $75 you can.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I can see that young Jeff, and I mean that photograph is really poignant of young 12-year-old Jeff with Kevin and Carrie Von Erich, which I'm assuming was maybe 1987 or 1988, and you can just tell that this was Jeff's what I like to think of wrestling as, and I related to what he said about his childhood. It's an escapism. It's basically like you create this world is already created, right? But each wrestling fan kind of has their own room or their own vortex into that alternate universe of pro wrestling. And you can put your favorite wrestlers in there. And if you like WCW over the WWF or AWA, whatever is personal to you, you kind of establish your own little room. And in the days before the internet, when everybody was kind of fighting and bickering, you could really feel like on an island because you'd have your stack of wrestling magazines.
Yeah,
but you pretty much just go home and watch the wrestling on TV and have your stack of magazines. In today's age, it's much different than when me and Jeff and everybody else were kids, because now you have to go online and fight everybody about your opinions and play the video games and stuff. But I can really relate to Jeff as a wrestling fan, especially as a young fan. And I'm just so happy that among other highlights of his life, working with Ivan Koloff and so forth and doing this podcast. But as the 12-year-old Jeff got to meet the Von Erichs, and not only that, got to write copy for them. I think that's just a life. What a way! If he wasn't indoctrinated into wrestling before that magical day of 12 years old at the Christian Broadcasting Network, than he was at that point.
That photo was taken in September of '89. And it was going to be used as part of an advertising promotion for the holiday season. Because at the time, if you remember, World Class Championship Wrestling from Texas was broadcast. It was the first promotion broadcast around the world via satellite in Israel. And it's a huge place for wrestling. Don't ask me why, but Israel owes wrestling to the Von Erich family, and they owe it to the Christian Broadcasting Network. And invariably, all of those religious organizations are connected anyway, in one way or another to each other. They all know each other, I'm sure, but Jeff was like, he was just in his, he looked like king shit sitting there, He did.
Yeah.
He was like Kevin over here and Kerry over here, and and I some hot shit.
Well, let me just jump on that again, Angela, because if you think about it, this 12-year-old wrestling fan, because the guy at the station works with Jeff's mom, and he says, "Hey, your son's a wrestling fan. I need his help. He's got to write copy for the Von Erichs because I don't know what to say for these guys." So this 12-year-old wrestling nut, Jeff the ref, is writing copy. And as you said, the Christian Broadcasting Network was being satellited into Israel and however many other countries and parts of the world. So 12-year-old Jeff's words were literally heard by millions of people back in 1989.
Yep.
That's impressive.
Were. And the funny thing about it, Mikey, is that I think you may have seen that clip where he told that story.
I did.
Okay, I was going to say, because I don't know if you saw the clip or you were on the show.
No, I watched in preparation for this tribute show, Angelo. I went back and I watched some of the early episodes of Wrestling with the Future with you and Jeff in preparation for tonight.
Beautiful.
So that's where I heard
want
the
to
story.
play. This is a clip here, Mikey. It's right after. I believe it's right after the baby doll thing, and probably right about here. So let me put this up.
Was just, I didn't like it, and if you notice, I very seldom called myself Andrea.
Hey, wrestling fans, it's your buddy Mike Messier. I'm here with kind of a somber mood, a positive mood, but a reflective mood. 1 year ago tonight, in a sense, a friend of mine passed away, Jeff the Ref Robinson, known for the Wrestling with the Future podcast, along with psychic host medium Angelo. Jeff the Ref was one of the originators of that podcast. So that's a story that Angelo has told, but I was really like the third man on the team, I think, in some ways, because I was one of the first couple of guests and happy to be it. And Jeff was a great guy. He was in Southern Virginia. I grew up in Northern Virginia, probably about 4 hours from where Jeff was. So we had that pretty much in common. Also, Jeff was a huge enthusiast of Ivan Koloff and a good friend of Ivan Koloff. And I thought, in tribute to Jeff tonight, I'd tell a story of me seeing Ivan Koloff wrestle. Now, because we both had a lot of points, and Jeff was always a very staunch defender of the business. He was smart, and he knew when things were not right with the WWE or any other wrestling company, but he was very loyal. And I remember us going back and forth. And, of course, I was Mike Messier, the angry wrestling fan, and Jeff the Ref was a staunch defender of the WWE and NXT. And on February 29th, 2020, there I was, and I have to admit, I was in Jacksonville, Florida, at an NXT house show. Just what do they call it? The Ocean Tour, the Sunshine Tour, whatever they call it. So there I was, and enjoying a wrestling show because a friend of mine was in from out of town, and I thought of Jeff the Ref that night because I said, man, if Jeff knows, when Jeff finds out I went to this NXT show, he's going to rub that in my face, that there I was supporting the NXT and of course supporting WWE by even being there. I saw it on social media, I saw it on Facebook that unbelievably Jeff the Ref had passed away, and I remember calling Angelo and Angelo giving me the details as far as he knew, and of course, it's just shocking and it's just sad. And, you think about that. And so for all the people on social media that might be watching this video or might not, the Evan Ginsbergs and the Shane McKennas, the Frank, the Jimmys, Jimmy Faluca, Frank Todaro, all the guys that Ray and all the guys, Rial, all the guys that I argue wrestling with and I talk to, Havid. It is a community. It is a family of wrestling fans. Wrestling with the Future is still on the Wrestling with the Future YouTube page and still available, I think, on Spotify and other outlets. So those early Wrestling with the Future, late 2019, early 2020. What else can I say? It's tough when we lose friends.
It certainly is, Mike Messier. It's tough when you lose friends. I'll tell you, Mikey, do you remember? Mikey and I have to tell the story. We did a show. It was the first show where I'm going to jog your memory a little bit, Messier. It was the first show where WWE went over to Saudi Arabia for a crown jewel.
Yeah,
is what they had named it.
Yeah,
you're already smiling because I know where you're going with it. You and Jeff got into a knockdown drag out that night. Oh my God! Please, Mikey, tell everybody. I'm going to let you tell the story because you're better at storytelling than I am. Tell everybody what happened that night. I thought I was going to put my referee shirt on.
It just got heated, and I think both Jeff and I are opinionated guys, and
do you think?
And no, but just as a precursor, at no time did I think either Jeff or I disrespected or disliked each other. It was just we were both on opposite sides of this argument, and my argument, I think, was something to the effect of, WWE is bending the knee here for the money. And that they claim to be this woman empowerment wrestling group now, and they claim, don't be a bully, be a star, with their anti-bullying mantras and so forth. And yet they're going over to Saudi Arabia, this country that has executed more citizens in one day than any other country in the history of the world. I think 73 people. They behead them in a very cruel and humiliating way. And this country doesn't treat women as first-class citizens, not even second-class citizens, really. And but Jeff kind of took the stance that, hey, look, maybe this is planting seeds for a better tomorrow for these people in Saudi Arabia. Maybe the wrestling will come in and people will get inspired. And I think, the truth is probably both of those things at the same time when we look back at it. But at the time, I think that Jeff and I were both so worked up with Jeff's loyalty and my rebellion. I think Jeff almost walked off the show or was kind of cursing my neighbor.
No, I'm gonna tell you what he did. He was getting ready to walk off.
Oh my!
He told me, he went like this on the air. He went, "Fuck you." See? He did. He went, "Fuck you." I was like, "What the hell, dude? What did I do?" You set this up. You set this up. Shut up, brother. Oh man, I'm gonna tell you what. He was an avid when Mikey Messier tells you he's not in any way exaggerating.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Robinson was an absolute staunch to the death defender of the WWE. They could do no wrong. I'm wondering. I'm going to put myself in that place right now. I'm just wondering, thinking out loud here, what would Jeff think about the whole Vince McMahon
That's what I was
scandal that's going
thinking.
on? Mikey, what do you think about that? Mike Murphy, knowing what you've seen about Jeff Robinson on the show tonight, having met him once, because you did meet him once.
I think from what I know of Jeff and what I've heard about Jeff, I think he probably would be stepping on people's necks to get to the courthouse to defend Vince McMahon.
You're probably right. You're probably more right than I would hate to admit, but and Messier, he's not far off, is he?
No, I think Jeff would probably, and rightfully so, kind of go to the innocent until proven guilty, which is accurate. I think Jeff, but I think I do think, not that I want to think, but I do think that Jeff also had a pretty strong moral values too. So
absolutely. No question. Absolutely.
I do think that Jeff would kind of see this stuff and he wouldn't be very pleased with WWE or specifically with Vince McMahon. I think it would hurt. I think it would hurt Jeff's feelings, and I think it would upset Jeff. I don't think he would, knowing the moral convictions and ethical type of guy that he was. I don't think he would make light of it. I don't think he'd take any jokes about it. I think he would kind of think, well, let's let the process. He may not be quick to rush to judgment like I would be, but I think he would want to see where the truth would come out. I think.
Oh, absolutely.
The other thing.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Mikey.
Yeah, I think one thing that I was thinking about Jeff the last couple of days, and if he was with us or wherever he is in this wonderful world of ours, the universe here, I think he would be loving the fact that Cody Rhodes has been featured so well in WWE. I think with Jeff's passion for Jim Crockett Promotions that was dominated by Dusty Rhodes.
Oh, God, absolutely.
Yeah, seeing Dusty's son, Cody, basically help start AEW and then come back to the WWE and basically for the last year and change be the number one babyface and going into his second WrestleMania, and the fact that from what we can tell, the fans voted Cody Rhodes back into the WWE WrestleMania main event, ousting The Rock. You know what I mean? I think Jeff would be all over that. Like, he would love everything that's going on creatively.
Oh my
WWE.
God, Mikey, he'd be on that like stink on shit. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And he would be in his glory, shouting to the mountaintops to anybody that would listen.
Yeah.
Amelia, you are in the, and I'm sorry I put you here, but you are in the unenviable position of replacing an icon like Jeff the Ref.
Oh, no, I'm just so grateful for him for starting this podcast, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. And I
And can
thank
I
him for
tell you,
that.
it was really his idea. I was very content
Hmm.
for the few years before
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
doing, my psychic show, and I was
Hmm.
content with that, with the Psychic Realm podcast. And he said, let's do a wrestling show. I went, really?
I know. You were like,
Really? You want to do a wrestling show?
hmm.
We're going to talk about, like, have real conversations about fake wrestling.
I bet you
And
that.
he said, it's not fake. It's choreographed. It's not fake. Oh, man. Oh no, he had, when I tell you, and Mike Messier knows, I'm not even bullshitting.
Hmm.
Jeff had this visceral passion
Yes.
for WWE and wrestling in general, and he loved indie wrestling.
Hmm.
He loved the big time wrestling, and he even liked, the what we call now outlaw promotions that weren't really promotions.
Right.
They're called outlaws. He used to love that shit.
You know what,
But
Angelo?
go ahead, Mikey.
One thing I can say about Jeff and his love and passion for professional wrestling, and I think one of the reasons why is that wrestling affects young kids at such a young age. It gets inside them, is because I want you, and I was one of them, so I can say this, because I go back to the days of Chief J. Strongbow.
I'll go back before that, brother.
You take that kid who maybe can't run as fast, can't dribble a ball, can't jump as high, doesn't have a lot of friends, spends a lot of time alone. And then one day he's flipping through the TV channels and he comes across, now for me it was Saturday afternoons, he comes across professional wrestling and he's enamored by it. He's in awe of it. Like, wow, look at these guys. You got the good guys and you got the bad guys. Well, let me tune into this for a little bit. So then they watch it. Well, I got to see what happens next week. And then they tune in for the next week. And next thing you know, they're going out buying the wrestling magazines and the action figures and the T-shirts. They've got their one wrestler. And, and it's for those people, like I said, they get to live vicariously through their heroes that they see on the TV. Or they see at the live
Exactly, Mike.
event.
Exactly.
Because
And
like I said, that kid
that's exactly right. And I'm glad that you went there, because with Jeff, and like I said before, we don't get into wrestling. Wrestling gets into us.
Right.
With Jeff, it was introduced by his grandfather. And it got into him from his grandfather.
Yeah.
Just like it got into me from my uncle.
Yeah.
I found it through a friend of mine, and I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a Saturday afternoon. A friend of mine said, "Hey, man, you got to see this," and he put on channel 17 in Philadelphia.
Oh God,
and it had Worldwide Wrestling Federation.
Yep.
And I was watching Classy Freddie Blassie managing the Executioners wrestling the late Chief J. Strongbow, and now, unfortunately, the late Billy White Wolf for the Worldwide Wrestling Federation Tag Team Championships. And I'm looking at this going, who are these guys beating the hell out of each other, and why aren't they getting arrested? Why aren't they in jail or something? And my friend had to explain it to me, and I literally sat there like a carp.
Yeah.
And I was in love with it from that day. And, guys like Baron von Raschke, Bob Backlund, Arnold Skulland, Baby Doll, Tully Blanchard, it was just.
Yeah.
I think Roddy Piper said it best.
Yeah.
It's a sickness of the mind.
It really is. It's an addiction of the mind. Really, is what it is. Let me tell everybody that I'm going to bring Mike Messier up on the big camera here because I'm going to promote you a little bit, brother.
Thank you.
Here you go. Here's Mikey. I want to promote Mike Messier. Check him out on Amazon.com. The books.
That's a great
Distance
book.
from Avalon. Authored by Mike Messier. Cover art by I always get his name right. Nazar Germanoff.
Nazar Germanoff. Yep.
Yep. And my favorite, Mike Messier. Fighter Play Basketball. Mikey, when are you going to do this movie, Fighter Play? You got to do it. You got to make this a movie.
Yeah,
this has got like script written all over it, brother.
Well, the interesting thing is, Angelo, it was written as a feature film screenplay first, and then during our pandemic era, I used that time to convert both of those novels, Fighter Play Basketball and A Distance from Avalon. I converted them from screenplays into novels. Of course, the screenplay versions still exist.
Yeah.
And thank you. Thanks for putting that over. But Fighter Play Basketball means a lot. Yeah, and it's like you said, it's a sports is the backdrop, but really what the story is about is a kid with a single mom who's looking for a father figure in his life.
Exactly. That's why I said it's really, sports is like, the background noise, really.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not really a sports story. It's a human interest. It's a family story. It's a story in many ways, Mikey. It's a story of survival, particularly for minorities, African Americans, Hispanics, people who don't have, in many cases, who don't have opportunity afforded to them,
Right.
or who have opportunity taken away, by the system. Great story. Also, tell everybody MikeMessier.com. Check it out, and also check out the Avalonia Film Festival. Avalonia is Mike Messier's own film festival. You can submit short films or features to Mikey, and they'll be judged and critiqued, and you might win yourself a prize.
Yeah,
is that how it works, Mikey? What do you get, like a plaque, or you get like a something to take home?
Yeah, it's more like what I really concentrate on as far as the winning films. Thanks, Angelo, for mentioning it. Avalonia Festival. I try to make a really awesome website and send the award-winning filmmakers graphics that they can share on their social media, because in this day and age, what I think what they want and what I provide is basically the certificate that they can share online, that they can show as a resume builder for their friends and family. And of course,
there you go, perfect.
But it's a thing where they actually do have to win, because there's competitive categories. Not everybody's a winner, and plenty of great films come in that can't win because not everybody can win. But the ones that do get the nice accreditation. And Angelo, while we were doing the show, I was able to share on my Facebook your broadcast here, and my buddy Laza from Australia, if you see him in the comments, he double shared it, so he shared my
fantastic.
share. I was going to say, in our chat room tonight, we've only gotten to maybe I think 2 comments tonight, but I've got a room full of people here, like a shit ton of people in our chat.
There's more than 2. There's more than 2. If you scroll down, there's
there's quite a bit of chat in our
Net
chat room.
Slabby. The Facebook user is my buddy Lawrence Laza Johnson from Australia. That's Laza who shared it on his.
Yeah, Nettie Slabby is from Japan. She's one of our people. See, I have a master chat over here, Mikey.
Yeah.
So I can see, all of our outlets. Yeah. All of our outlets that have chat capability. And there's over 3,000 of them right now.
Right.
Or close to 3,000, I should say. It's like 2,700 people in our chat. It's
awesome.
crazy.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so let me just say this before we do anything. I want to put everybody up over here, and I want to put everybody over a little bit. Mike Armageddon Murphy is a retired professional wrestler. He's been my friend for 25 years. Michael, thank you for participating tonight. I appreciate your input here, and I brought you on here tonight because you did get us Baby Doll, and that show, you made Jeff's night that night. You don't even know, brother. Let me tell you something. That he was slobbering all over himself. He was like drooling all over himself. And when we got off the air, I'll share this with you now. When we got off the air, he went, "She's still fucking hot."
Oh my god.
Again, MikeMessier.com is the website. Avalonia Film
You're very
Festival.
welcome.
Oh.
Fighter Play Basketball.
Mm-hmm.
A Distance from Avalon. Great. Go on Amazon. Go on to MikeMessier.com. Amelia.
Yes.
Let me tell you something. You're no Jeff the Ref, but you know, but at least you don't have a gravelly voice. But
I thank this show for also.
I'll tell you what, you've taken some big shoes and you filled them pretty good.
Well, I thank this show also for letting me meet Baby Doll as well, because it let me let two bullies from my childhood days go tell them, say, "Ha ha, guess who I got?"
Yeah, and that's funny because her first show. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
This is what you and Jeff the Ref have in common.
Yeah.
First time meeting their hero, Baby Doll.
Yes.
Amelia is from Baby Doll's neighborhood in Texas.
Yes.
And they had a little girl talk about that on the show. And but listen, we got to see the whole Baby Doll, not just her forehead, you know, and part of her eyelid. You know. But that was a really interesting show. I'm glad I was able to make that happen for you.
And it just happened that it was on our news feed a few days ago, a year ago on our news feed.
I know. It was almost a year to the day. Isn't that funny?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to say something to the Robinson family, to Amy, to Brenda, Jeff's mom, Brenda Robinson, to Edgar, if you're still with us, and to Jeff directly, because I know, brother, I know you're around because I feel you. You are sorely missed, my friend. You made this little podcast that could happen. And it did in a very big way. We are, as of Monday of this week, 100,000 downloads plus, and that's a real legit number. It's not a work number. It's a shoot. If you want to talk in wrestling terms, it's a shoot for real. Wrestling with the Future, thanks to Amelia, she busted my chops and said, "I want to do a wrestling show." I heard that before. It came from Jeff. I want to do a wrestling show.
So see, he brought that idea to my head, and guess what? We couldn't name it anything else but Wrestling with the Future again.
and Mike Messier, I feel like, you know, Michael Corleone in The Godfather. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Well, Angelo, put yourself over too, buddy, because you've been steering the ship for 4 or 5 years now, and you know, with obstacles, with expansions, getting how many countries did you say? Was it 83?
84 countries as of Monday.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for real. Straight shoot. Straight shoot. We've been yeah, for real. Yeah, Nettie, listen to this. Yeah, Nettie. Yeah, 2,700 in the chat. Yes. For real. Straight up.
And we want to have Mikey Mike Messier back again.
Mikey, I'm going to have Mike Messier back because I'm going to talk to him when I get rid of you two guys.
No, as a guest.
Mike and I are going to talk privately.
Oh.
But before I throw everybody out of here, Amelia, tell everyone what's coming up. I'm going to bring up on the break camera.
Oh, absolutely. Well, let's see. I know that you're going to be having a show coming up. Well, we're going to do Life and Death, or Life of Life, I guess, on March the 4th. We'll be talking about that.
Life after death or life after life? Is it possible? Does it happen? Has it happened? Is it part of our existence? We don't know because we're still here.
Right.
But people who have gone to the great beyond and were fortunate enough to come back have told amazing stories and eerily similar stories of life after death and life after life. Is there life beyond this? I believe so.
Yeah.
I would say you have to believe there is.
Yeah.
You can't believe that this is it. Like, this can't possibly be it.
Yeah.
You know?
And
There's got to be something beyond this.
right.
What else is coming up, Neil?
And then Angelo Capone's going to be joining us again, the Jerry Lewis impersonator.
The country's foremost Jerry Lewis impersonator, my friend Angelo Capone, is remarkable. When you see him, you're going to go, huh?
I know.
How about it? He's good. He's really good. What else we got?
And then I don't remember what we're going to have for March the 6th for the wrestling show. We were talking about that, but I don't.
Well, let's see. I'll tell you what. I might have actually wrote it down. Because I'm not real good about writing shit down. That's why I give Amelia the job to do. Okay, so let me see what we have. We have March the 6th. All right, what we're doing, and this is where I was going to talk to you off air, Mike Messier, but since we're here, I'll go ahead and ask you here. We're going to do a show on the McMahon lawsuit on March the 6th.
Oh, yeah.
Would you like to join me on that?
I'm literally checking my schedule, so I can. Is it a nighttime thing?
The same time as this today.
Yeah, I can do March 6th. I'll write that down right now.
Beautiful. Okay, Amelia, put Mike Messier in.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Okay, we have Dan Ely and Billy Dyer coming on the show. Who are they? They are part of a band called Mersey Beat. And they will be talking about their late friend, Denny Lane, and their current friend, Paul McCartney.
That's a pretty famous band right there, Angelo.
Yeah.
Mercy Beat. I've heard of them.
We got, I got a hook up to Paul McCartney. Fucking scary, ain't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
But I got a hook up to Paul McCartney. We're going to talk about the music of the late Denny Lane. He, of course, was an integral part and co-founder of Paul McCartney and Wings, and of course, the Moody Blues. He was the founder of the Moody Blues.
Yes.
Denny Lane passed away earlier this year, and we're going to talk about him. We are going to talk about.
We're going to have Princess Victoria come joining us again.
Hold on, Amelia. Hold on. I'm not going there yet.
Okay.
We have March 11th, murder mystery in Georgia. Now, we're going to talk about a young lady got killed in Georgia. Nobody's quite sure about what happened here. The husband sounds suspicious. He says he didn't do it. The police aren't saying anything. And eerily, nobody's really saying much about this poor woman who died under crazy, ridiculous circumstances.
Yeah.
March 18th, we will do a tribute, a salute, and Mike Messier, I would love to have you here for this one. The life and career of the great one, Jackie Gleason.
Oh, okay.
Monday, March 18th, we will be joined by the country's foremost Jackie Gleason tribute artist. You can see him currently playing Buford T. Justice in Eastbound and Down, the Smokey and the Bandit tribute. And they literally go from state to state recreating the movie.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but they're getting crazy sellout crowds everywhere they go. Complete with the Trans Am, the truck, and the whole bit. They literally recreate Smokey and the Bandit live. And Jackie Gleason's character, Buford T. Justice, played by Sean Bailey, is always the highlight of the show. Remarkable guy. Princess Victoria will be joining us again to talk about the wrestling territories. Mike Messier, would you like to join me on that one?
What date is that?
March 13th, Wednesday night, 7 p.m.
Yeah, I can do that.
Beautiful. Then we are going to talk about the anomalies in The Wizard of Oz on March the 19th. That's a Tuesday. What really happened during the filming of The Wizard of Oz? Some shady stuff went on in that movie They say there's a hanging. They say there's a
Yeah.
murder. They say there's guns and swords used in that movie. Well, and guess what? They're all right. But where to look for them? You're going to see as we dissect one of America's perennial favorites, The Wizard of Oz. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Then we will be joined again by Gambino crime family member of the John Gotti family. Lou Ferranti will be here, and we will talk about the Kennedy Hoffa connection. What play did the mafia have in the assassination of John F. Kennedy and the murder of Jimmy Hoffa? Well, Lou has the answers, and we will hear from Lou Ferranti. This guy is a walking encyclopedia of mob history. He literally wrote the book. In fact, he wrote 2 books, Volume 1 and Volume 2, Inside the American Mafia. Great books. And that's all we're going to tell everybody for now, Amelia, because we don't want to get too far ahead.
Oh, yeah, because we have other great shows coming up.
Okay. Yes, we do. So now, let me tell everybody, tomorrow is Thursday. It's the day to relax. It's our Sunday. It's the day of rest.
It's our weekend.
It's our Sunday. So, on behalf of Mike, the movie maker Messier, my friend, on behalf of Mike Murphy, Armageddon, and the Pitbull, Amelia, the Pitbull Chapman, I am Angelo, the Mad Dog DeCipio, saying God bless. Be good to each other, folks. We'll see you next week. God willing. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.